Alison Klayman is changing the conversation about the WNBA with her film. I am here to talk to her about it. Locked on Women's Basketball starts now.
Ogunbowale for the win.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball.
Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to Locked On Women's Basketball. I'm your host, Howard Magdahl, thanking you for making us your first listen every day. Only place you can hear about women's basketball 6 days a week. We talk past, present, and future of the game, Monday through Friday. Saturday is the WNBA draft show. You may think, oh, the WNBA draft just happened. Yes, it did, but there's another one coming in less than a year, and we will keep you covered on all the young prospects there every Saturday. It's not just me, it is the entire incredible team over at thenexthoops.com, where we have over 100 reported pieces on women's basketball every month. I got to tell you guys, we got previews coming. For all 12 teams, we have a reporter in each of the 12 markets. Make sure you're subscribing. 27% off sale right now in honor of the 27th WNBA season. TheNextHoops.com. Really important to support the work that's being done. And when I talk about supporting the work that's being done, it's impossible for me, and I don't say this lightly, to think of something more important than having a filmmaker who is as acclaimed and as talented as Alison Klayman. Alison, I don't mean to put you on the spot and embarrass you here, but I honestly, the fact that you are now in this realm making a film and made a great film that is about the WNBA, it means everything. It's Unfinished Business, the name of the film. You can go see it at Bam Rose Cinemas, which is just an awesome place to see a movie in general, between May 12th and May 18th. It's going to be on Amazon Prime starting on May 13th. There's even going to be ESPN2 broadcast. And so getting that type of pickup, I think, directly relates to the mission of the film for you. But I don't want to put words in your mouth. Take me through what it means for you in that moment to see that much pickup here for the film you've done.
I mean, this was the goal from the beginning, to have the movie be something that is available for fans past, present, future, and for the uninitiated who just love sports, love great documentary film, to be able to stumble upon it and then be converted into a fan of the WNBA is really the goal. So I can't wait to hear about that happening. I know even just from our limited festival run, including the Tribeca premiere, having friends come who don't go to the games, and, they're coming this year. So I'm really excited to see that happen.
It's a film, and so people need to understand it. It goes along two tracks, and, full disclosure, I am in this film, but many more important people are in this film on the history and the current team of the New York Liberty. And it tells that story along those two tracks about the beginning of how the New York Liberty came to be and where they are. It's called Unfinished Business, and I don't need to tell this to Liberty fans, but to others, because there has not yet been a championship won by the New York Liberty. Very close in some years, but not yet here. And so I guess what I'm curious about is, you've updated the film in some ways because there are some significant upgrades happening. But just like take me through, as somebody who lived in this world, what this past offseason, as John Paul Jones and Breanna Stewart and Courtney Vanderbilt are coming to the Liberty, how much did, what was just that like for you in terms of emotional resonance?
Oh my God. I mean, like the most in it fan possible in terms of how I followed that news. I couldn't stop talking about it. I was, glued to my phone to the updates as like that sort of all that news rolled in over a couple days. Definitely had this feeling of like, gosh, I wish I was filming a series this season. You know what I mean? Because it'd be so fun. But in terms of, having made this film, it's just like only further amplifies the takeaway and the importance of knowing where this team and where this league has come from to be poised right now, to have even more eyeballs, I hope, on the team's trajectory, even more of a chance, I hope, to, come away victorious this season. I just feel like it raises the stakes in a great way, for what it means if you watch the film and then you decide to start following this season.
Mm-hmm. And when you talk about that journey, it was so striking to me. And it, that premiere at Tribeca last year, there was a great conversation that followed. And it's so obvious that the people who founded the Liberty, who were part of that initial set of building blocks, are still so all in on the Liberty Project writ large. I wonder why you think that is. What is it that binds people to this franchise in a very specific way? Because it's true even for original season ticket holders who we talk to.
Yeah, I mean, I have goosebumps just thinking about it. That's why there was, in my mind, no way to tell this story without having that dual timeline and taking you back, because it was just pure magic. I think it meant everything to the players, it meant everything to the fans, and it was celebrated, and it was also felt obvious. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't have to feel like, oh, this like niche thing that I go, like, it was of the moment. It was a culmination of a lifetime of players dying to play at a professional level at home. And for fans to see that, and for fans maybe who wish they were players to know that, younger people coming up were going to have this chance. The sponsorship money was there, the media attention was there, the celebrities were on the sidelines. It was everything. And I think it was also still a real struggle and sacrifice for the players, because they weren't just suddenly like, oh, I can kick my feet up and retire now either. So I think, everybody had a real sense of mission. And that's what I feel like was the kind of attitude that the filmmaking team brought to this film too, like just this sense of mission. Like, we want to honor this story, we want to tell it in the most fun, forward-looking way possible, and we want to get it out as widely as possible. And I really think it has everything to do with, certainly for me personally as a director, I just was really inspired by that team and that moment when I was a kid. Like, I really felt like I wanted people to watch the movie and feel what we all felt.
It's really interesting. You talk about the dual tracks. There's also, and you captured, I thought, so well, this big start. And so many of us who are immersed in this world feel this way, right? This huge start, like you talk about, you can look at the attendance numbers and you almost, I feel it's sort of this palpable sense of frustration as you watch the numbers dwindle, and then it feels like we're on the other side of a curve, right? As we're seeing things begin to grow again. Do you feel like you have a handle now on why that has happened? Because it happened for so many different reasons, I feel like, and it's a hard thing to sort of pinpoint. And I know that was the basis of so much of your exploration in this film.
I know. I mean, because you helped, add to the project's knowledge and sort of thinking it through. That those were the kinds of questions I brought to you when we first met, when we were talking about whether you would be in the film. And it is one of the things that I feel like I spent so much time in, relative to, like, it's not like there's a whole section about that in the film, or, I think it's addressed very lightly, but I think it leaves people with a satisfying feeling like they were given a narrative arc of what happened and a little bit of why, because the why isn't like just one thing, like you said, but I think some of that why that can fit in a film and like is suited to be told in a filmic way, I think is represented in Unfinished Business, and using the Liberty as our sort of main character through which to understand this broader story of the league works so well, because you have some very tangible, the highs of MSG sold out to being, sent out kicked out of the Garden and playing in Westchester. I mean, in terms of the kinds of things you can convey visually, I think that, really is useful. And we track the numbers like with your help. And I talked to you and many other experts. And I think a big part of it, one of the biggest parts that I think is worth emphasizing, is about exactly what you do, exactly what I'm hoping to do with the film. It's the storytelling, and around sports is a big reason why anyone cares about sports. It is entertainment. It offers great takeaways and drama. And if the WNBA can get that same attention and that same dedication in the storytelling and coverage arena, that's a big part. That, along with investment, I think are two really big structural things that have nothing to do with things, unfortunately, that are in the players' hands,
Right.
and that's why I think it's really important to talk about.
No, it's huge. And I love and appreciate that you see it, that it is not a magic trick. I feel like there are people who are looking for excuses to not make it happen, who try and treat it as this mystical thing when it is anything but.
Yeah.
So it's just, let's get everyone to the same starting line, and then let's get a sense of how fast they're on the race. So
and I love that you said too that we're at this moment where it's like either the other side of it, or we're at this moment, I think, where there's a lot of consensus that there's a huge upside in what is happening in the WNBA. And I think you have people who want to spend money, who want to invest money, owners who want to get around their own salary caps. You know what I mean? Like, it's literally, that is everything that fits into this story, because that is unimaginable if you look back at the hard times. That was not the reality. So I think that's one of many reasons why this is such an important moment, that I think we're really on the brink of, the next leveling up of what's going to happen with the WNBA. And I'm really excited that the film can come out and hopefully provide some of that kind of fundamental storytelling that everyone can build on. And I hope there's like a million more movies like this that come out.
That is a delightfully helpful tease into segment 2, which we're going to be talking about the future. And I'm very eager to see how you see it. First, going to let people at home know about eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit, or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items apply. Exclusions apply. So the future, and again, it's such a fascinating page for me to start when we think about the way you structured it, because you had this kind of blank canvas. There are not movies that have been done like this. We're here in the year 27, and so much of the history has not been properly documented, or in many cases documented at all. So did you have a template in your mind, and how did you go about building off of that template for making this film, especially as it related to present day, those parts of it that you were doing?
Well, the idea day one was to have this dual timeline, and you kind of go about capturing everything that you can in the present day, doing your homework, getting access to the players and the figures that sort of quote unquote historical figures that can, the legendary players that make up that second timeline, and the experts, people like you, Jane McManus, Ari Chambers, Tamron Spruill, people who will elevate and give this like 30,000 foot, viewpoint on the whole thing. And then you come to the edit. And I think my editor, Brian, would back me up on this. Like, it really was all there. He definitely at the beginning was like, are you sure this isn't a series? Because we had so much. But I love the project of kind of bringing it down to its essence. And I think that the past and present really spoke to each other very naturally. You also know, no matter what happens in the season, you're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have the drama that is sports storytelling. And a losing streak can pair with, years of decline in investment and attention or whatever, inevitably you're going to be able to pair these emotional highs and lows.
Right.
I think I didn't really have a template, and that's often how I am with films, but I would say like I have just always loved great sports storytelling, especially in the fiction sphere. Like I just feel like I grew up on, everything from like The Sandlot, Mighty Ducks. Like I just, I always wish there was a basketball version of one of those movies, And so I just felt like this has to feel like it's rooted in the present and looking towards the future.
Mhm.
Which is funny to be like, we're going to be, heavily dancing with the story of the past and be really rooted in the characters of the past. But the point was always to be like rooted in the present and looking to the future. And I think that was the sort of North Star in how we figured out how much time to spend on various things and what the tone should be.
How convenient was it to have the Liberty season end against the Phoenix Mercury and their future coach, and to have Sandy Brondello right there to be able to move into 2022? And I asked
Oh
that
my
sort of half jokingly, but also from the perspective of that's the other part you don't control as you're trying to do this. And I've attacked this on the narrative side, on the book side of things through the years, where there are changes along the way, and you can focus on compelling people only to see the team's plans change. How did you kind of roll with that as you went forward?
Totally. A huge challenge. Luckily, one, as a documentary filmmaker, I feel like I'm used to being like, I don't control, and things change all the time and things change in the edit. I've had, films about people who have ended up detained during the edit by the Chinese government. Like, lots of things have been thrown out. But yeah, it's not always the best thing when the roster is changing, when the coach is changing. But I think that you just think of creative solutions. And I think we were aware of that possibility from the beginning, because you see how much the roster has already been changing year to year.
Yeah.
You see how filming during the preseason and how that was very like, we don't know who's going to still be here or not. It was incredibly kind of lucky in a way that Sandy beat us. And then, she was able to be there. And I got so excited because I was like, great, we can have her in as a voice in the film. And it'll just feel like, oh, it's the opposite coach, like kind of narrating, the big game.
Mhm.
And it's going to be a real fun surprise. And the way it played at Tribeca, at our, festival premiere, oh man, like obviously some people in the room knew that was coming, but I think a lot of people also didn't. And they were like, wow, like it really kind of gets to play for like a big, exciting twist. And that was kind of the hope.
Yeah, no, and it helps that Sandy's a great interview on top of
Yes.
it. And
Yes.
the number of people who were talkers, both the past and present.
I talked to Sandy during our interview as well about, she could have fit along the voices with the players from the, first few years of the league. And I got her perspective on everything as also, a player coming from Australia, like it was really interesting. Also her perspective on coaching, BG and what it felt like as she was still, kind of fate unknown at the time. So again, we like went in being like, she could be in this film everywhere. And sort of in the end, she kind of plays one particular role. And I think it's really effective.
Yeah, no, there's no question about it. All right, I want to talk to you at segment 3 about the future, about your own emotional ties to this franchise at this point. So it's so fascinating when you are connected through the work. I do first want to tell people that this show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Now, it's so easy to get caught up in what everyone else needs from you and never take a moment to think about what you need from yourself. But when we spend all our time giving, it can leave us feeling stretched thin and burned out. Therapy can give you the tools to find more balance in your life so you can keep supporting yourself and each other while not leaving anyone behind. If you're thinking of starting therapy, I want you to give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedonnba to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedonnba. So, Alison, two things, right? First of all, I know that you're a Philly product. Like, I'm from Cherry Hill. I'm close enough. I like to consider myself.
Yeah, you're in the family.
I count. I appreciate that. That means a lot to me to hear. And so my question is, you have obviously spoken about your ties, your connection here to the Liberty. How hopeful are you that Philadelphia gets a WNBA team? And what is that going to do for you and your emotional loyalties at that point?
Ooh, I haven't thought about that. I just know I'm pushing for Philly for expansion 100%. I made a plea, at our Tribeca premiere. We had a lot of Philly talent on the film, our graphics team, poster designer, amazing composers. One James is a member of the Roots. Ivan, the music is sick.
Yeah.
We had a lot of Philly representation at that premiere, and I was like, that's what we need, Philly expansion. I don't know what it'll do. I mean, I live in Brooklyn, very close to Barclays.
Yep.
So I think my heart will be split, but my body will probably be at Barclays. I think at this point, the Liberty are going to mean a lot to me forever because of the experience of making this film.
You can't. I mean, anytime I've done a book project, it's the same thing. You live with that emotional space for too long to be able to ever lose that entirely. It's I certainly understand that. That makes sense. But yes, the
How would
Philadelphia.
you feel?
Yeah, I mean, it would be a real challenge, no question about it. The Philadelphia Staleys are a thing that should have existed already.
I know.
That should happen, and they should let Dawn run things, and it should
And I
happen.
should make a movie if that happens. Let's put that in.
Please do that.
I'd be there in a heartbeat. People would be like, I don't make the same movie over and over, and it wouldn't be the same movie. Like I said, there needs to be, on balance, so many more movies about and shows about women's basketball to kind of even the scale. So I'm still in the space. I'm available.
I'm delighted to hear it. And you actually teased. I'm not surprised. Again, you a step ahead of me for my last question, which is, can we hope for more great work from you? I mean, even specifically the fact that, oh my God, the New York Liberty, they've done a couple of things this offseason. We are looking at a team. I've written about this. There's never been a team 1-11 on paper like this. It's one thing that we could talk about Brianna Stewart and John Paul Jones all day. You have the all-time leader in assist percentage in Courtney Vandersloot, and the one who's second among active players is Sabrina Ionescu. You've got a backup center in Han Shu who shot 44% from three last year and is 6'10". I mean, and she's backing up an all-star in Stephanie Dolson. But
one of my biggest disappointments was that Han Shu couldn't make it for the 2021 season. Just because I spent time living in China, I would have loved. Like that was really exciting when I got to meet her at the premiere of the film. I mean, yeah, like we are stacked, and this year is really, I think all eyes are going to be on this team. I think we know that the team gelling is going to be a really important part of all of it. And I just have faith that there's like a real sense of mission here, and there's going to be great things to be able to see. I truly was like, for a second, I was like, can we scramble the Jets? Like, should I be like making a series about this? I think in the end, we really had to focus on the effort to get this movie out, and I think that was, more important to have this wide release for Unfinished Business and to get out the word. But, I'm definitely going to be watching, and I'm so, so excited to see what happens.
It is going to be utterly fascinating. Again, I want to emphasize, don't just watch Unfinished Business, though by all means watch it. Watch the Alison Klayman canon. Make sure you can. And how can you see Unfinished Business? You can go to Bambrose Cinema from May 12th to May 18th. You should do that if you're anywhere close. You can see it on ESPN2 on May 14th, Sunday, May 14th. It's going to be on Amazon Prime starting May 13th. Unfinished Business turns out to be prophetic if the Liberty go on and win. You feel good about that? You feel, like your title can have presaged what happened here.
I feel really good. I mean, obviously there's always this, is it important how they do in the season you're filming them, or do they need to win? I went in definitely that's not, that the outcome is definitely not the point. There's a real sense of mission here of the storytelling that needed to happen about this young team with a storied history, with a lot of unfinished business, with a lot of promise. And that's going to have big things that are, in the future. And so no matter how they did, we were going to make it work. I think I will take being ahead of the curve if that's how it happens. I don't think I'm going to spend too much time being like, oh, I wish this was the movie, because it's bigger than just that, and that sense of it, having that unfinished business, it's still it's such a good metaphor, and it's going to exist for years to come. But I hope on the championship front it could be very near, very, very near.
There's certainly ample reason for optimism, that's for sure. Well, Alison Klayman, thank you so much for taking the time. To our listeners, thank you for making us the most listened to women's basketball podcast in the world. Over 100,000 of you tuning in just last month alone. We really appreciate all your support. Bigger times ahead for all of us. Check us out over at thenexthoops.com. Until tomorrow, I am Howard Megdal, wishing all of you a wonderful Thursday.
Ogunbowale for the win.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball.